All parties in the matter of Sansbury versus
McClean, step forward.
Douglas Sansbury is suing his former employee, 22-year-old David McClean, for crashing his work vehicle.
Mr. Sansbury, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for damage to a car that he was driving that belongs to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The defendant worked for you from when to when, sir?
November until the time of the accident.
What month?
March.
So he worked November, December, January, February. Accident happened March what?
6th.
So he worked for you for 4 months.
That's correct.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
My handyman, and I do repair work for local restaurants in the town.
Okay, and what kind of work did he do for you?
He was my...
Cut out the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all.
On average a week.
Between 250 to 400.
And as part of the work that he was doing for you, he had the use of a car that belonged to you.
No, ma'am. I let him drive it home in the evening and back to work in the morning.
So he had the use of the car. When he was working, on what date did he have the accident?
March.
And he was working for you.
Correct.
You worked that week. What was the date you usually got paid, Mr. McClean?
On Fridays.
What was your last day of work?
I would say the day of the accident.
Did you get paid for that week?
No, I did not.
That's your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't pay him for that week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You owe him for that week.
Correct.
Great. How much money do you owe him for that?
$320.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
How much does he owe you for that week?
$420.
You have the hours he worked?
I don't have them in front of me.
$420. The responsibility is yours to keep the records and to give them to me. Now, I'd like you to tell me about the accident that you had with the car. Were you working that day?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
It was my lunch break, and I had left to go to my house to pick up a tool.
Go ahead.
On my way back from the house to work, a deer was crossing the street, and I swerved to get out of the way.
Go ahead.
And as I swerved, I slid into a neighbor's yard and hit a mailbox.
And what time did you take the car on your lunch break?
It was 11 a.m.
What time did the accident occur?
Around 11:15.
Did you go back to work that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did you get back to work that day?
Right after 11:15. After it happened, I had notified the people that I hit the mailbox.
How did you do that?
I left well, I couldn't contact them because no one was there, so I left a note on the front door and left my number and everything.
And they ultimately found out?
Yes, ma'am.
They contacted you?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you gave it to your insurance? Is that, well, who paid for the mailbox?
I
did, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes,
ma'am.
How much did you pay for the mailbox?
$84.
So?
Well, what happened, he told me Saturday morning when he was bringing the car back to my home that he ran off the road that morning. And when he got to my house and I saw the damage, I asked him to go return to the scene of the crime, get the police to come write up a report so we have evidence of it. At that point, they arrested him for a traffic violation, obstructing for justice,
False statements were given.
officer, and
What kind of false statement?
he said that it happened on Saturday morning instead of happening on Friday. Back to work on Friday.
Why did you tell him it happened on Saturday morning?
I was nervous. It was my first time ever getting in an accident.
Mr. Sansbury?
Yes, ma'am.
You should have had him covered on your insurance. He was an employee using a car. Sounds like he did everything right. He had an accident. Nobody was home. He left his number with the people. They contacted him. He paid for it. He didn't even say to you, listen, it's a company car. You should be covered on your liability insurance if your car hits a mailbox. He took care of it himself. You have no proof that he was intoxicated, that he was driving recklessly. Your responsibility. You give him a company car, you have insurance on the car. Your case is dismissed. Judgment on the counterclaim for $420 in wages. That's all.
Please excuse me. Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.